in first cut. Golly.
What's going on, YouTube? We're at the halfway point of the Open Championship. A couple of cams at the top of the leaderboard with Viktor and Rory lurking just behind. We'll break it all down and look ahead to the weekend. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed, and we're starting right now. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there, Mark Immelman. And Mark, you are... you're absolutely right. You were just telling me the old course, it's always going to get you a great champion, and this leaderboard is absolutely jacked up.
Yeah, boy. Just go look at the honor roll at that place. I mean, you got to be sort of in the who's who to win tournaments over there. And Sir Henry Cotton said it best. You know, he said, winning an Open Championship will make a good golfer a star. He said, but winning an Open Championship at the old course at St. Andrews will make a good golfer a legend. And if you look at folks that have won there, from Bob Charles to Bobby Lark to Bobby Jones to Jack Nicklaus, Tiger, these are legends, all right? And in his own right, John Daly is a legend, and Zach Johnson, he's won at Augusta National and at the old course. The folks that have had success around there are really, really quality players. And you know what, you can say what you like about is the scoring high, low, intermediate, whatever it is. Whatever the scoring is, the cream is showing up at the top, and they're doing so. And you can just get the sense that from when they tee off, you can see the show ponies start to arrive, and it's going to be exciting over the weekend.
That's a new record. A Sir Henry Cotton mentioned less than 1 minute into the podcast.
That's why you bring the old guy to the show, right? I mean, you youngsters, do you know who he is?
No, I have no.
How many Opens did Henry Cotton win?
Because you're bringing it up, I'll say 4.
3.
Okay.
The European Tour Rookie of the Year wins the Sir Henry Cotton Award.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got clubs designed after him. When I was a kid, I played a Henry Cotton golf ball for a long time. Famously learned to play the game. He had very, very strong hands and used to just practice with an old club, just hitting into like an old tire, apparently. And that's how he got really strong through contact. Apparently the guy hit it like obviously a legend.
Champion golfer of the year in 1934, 1937, 1948.
Sir Henry Cotton.
There you go. Little fun fact for you. All right. Before we jump into the top of the leaderboard, let's talk about the golf course. That tends to be the star, especially when it is the old course at St. Andrews. Mark, it was a little bit easier in terms of scoring conditions today. Overnight rain, a little damp this morning, change in wind direction. It just played entirely differently on Friday than it did on Thursday.
Yeah, it was curious, because the wind that was sort of westerly and then a little southwesterly in round one, and in some of the practice rounds, it was blowing from there and harder. The really cold one comes out of the north some. It sort of flipped almost east-southeasterly a little bit, which made that closing stretch of holes playing into a quarterly sort of left to right or a little bit. And as I was watching some of the golf, it seemed to me that on the down, if Carl was here, could probably confirm this, but it seemed to me that on the downwind holes, the ones going out, 1 through, 7, 8, and then you turn the loop and you come back in, guys were struggling to get distance control, even with short clubs, even with the conditions being a bit more receptive. But then when they turned into that little east-southeasterly, you could see them sort of hold draws up against the wind. You could see them bringing down balls a little softer. There were some hair-raising hole locations like the one on 16 there that was difficult, but the guys were able to get close to. And then the one on 15, it was front right in this little sort of tongue that sticks out the edge of the green, and guys could find it in there too, where if they'd had the opposite wind to those hole locations, the one on 16, they would have never, ever attacked. Where it was sort of halfway between 16 green and 4 green. So I feel like the wind switch helped a little bit. There's no doubt that the spritz the golf course got overnight and then some in the morning softened the conditions, because you could just get the sense that as you looked at the pictures and you could see the greenness, that it was more receptive. But the whole key was, and this is what I'm looking for tomorrow, clouds overhead help the golf course retain moisture. Clouds go away, wind picks up, then that stuff goes away in the blink of an eye. So the forecast is for cloudy and windy tomorrow. So I'm keen to see how the golf course plays as we go into moving day.
Well, that very last group out on the golf course will feature not 1, but 2 Camerons. It's Smith atop the leaderboard at 13 under par mark, thanks to his Friday 64, 8 under, bogey free absolutely stellar round to fly him up the leaderboard. And in true Cam Smith fashion, very, very good with the flat stick.
I've got my foot lodged firmly in my mouth. I got to admit this. Here's my mea culpa. I had a brief conversation with my brother. He's over there on the call for USA. And so, we were just pitching names about the place. And I was like, I'm unsure about Cam right now. I know he played well last week, but I've heard that his commentary is to be really aggressive off the tee and just hit driver everywhere. And I'm like, I'm not sure about this. Well, goodness gracious me. He drove it great today. His iron play was on the button. And of course, he made all the makeable putts, all the putts you have to contend in big events. And then, of course, he buries that 60-foot bomb for eagle on 14, which is always a bonus. But as I watch Cam Smith play, he's made some up and ins that have been mind-numbing, certainly through round one. And then here in round two, it just looked like he had a comfort about him. And I had a little Twitter debate with Will Haskett, who likes his opinion once in a while. And so he was saying, well, a strokes gained approach. And I'm like, when you start to measure me a strokes gained, not afraid of the big moment number, data parameter, I'll listen, because as I'm watching Cam Smith play, after that Players' Championship win, he just looks like he's okay with who he is. And then And where I first started to notice this about him was when he took down Justin Thomas at Royal Melbourne in front of the crowd and the international team needing him in the President's Cup to come through. He was in the penultimate match, I think, and he knocked off JT, who was playing awesome. And I was like, wait, this boy's not afraid. And then I spoke with a number of the Aussies, Ian Baker Finch in them, and they're like, yeah, he's up for it. But today he was up for it, but he just looked like he was like, I'm okay. I belong here. It's not like, oh my goodness, I'm leading the Open thing. What do I do now? He was like, whatever, let's go play. And he just kept on hitting the right shot and obviously made all the putts he had to.
Well, that mentality, Mark, might be put to the test heading into the weekend here. Not only does Cam Smith go out and shoot the lowest round of his major career, but it's the long wait until that Saturday third round. I think local time is like 4:15 in the afternoon. So he's going to have to stay busy on Saturday morning, I think.
Yeah, he could go to one of the neighboring golf courses and go and play 18 holes, have a leisurely lunch and nap, and then go and warm up and play. Yeah, look, it's part of what you do. But, at the Players' Championship, when he won, he was close to the lead, thereabouts, and he handled that just fine. And that golf course there will climb into your psyche. TPC Sawgrass, that stadium, of course, because of how punitive it is if you miss. So your mind can go wandering on you very quickly. And he came out and dealt with that okay. So I'm sure he'll be nervous. If he isn't, he's not human. But he's got the routine, I'm sure. And the one thing about Cam, all of my experiences with him, because I tend to catch him a lot when I'm calling golf out in the golf course. And then we go and watch them loosen up before the weekend round. And I ease over to him, and normally I'll just stand there and I'll check out what clubs they have in their bag, and I'll, pitch a question or two to the coach, maybe the caddy, but I don't interrupt the player. It's their office. Cam will come walking over. He'll come lean on the bag. Hey, what's going on? You're going to jokes to tell. I mean, he's just a boy. He just enjoys what he does, and so I feel like he'll pass the time just fine.
Humor me for just 1 minute here, Mark. Let's just give Cam Smith this one, and let's give him the FedEx Cup, thanks to all the points he's going to be earning here. What resume would you like? You got one vote. You got one vote for the Player of the Year. Scotty Scheffler's, which is the Masters, the Match Play, Arnold Palmer, Phoenix, and I'm missing one. Doesn't he have one more?
No, he's got four, I think. He's got four, right?
Okay. Or would you like the Tournament of Champions, the Players, the Open, and the FedEx Cup?
I'd go with the latter. I really would. You see, I don't want to talk about strength of field too much, but the Players is a strong field. And the Open is a very strong field. And the Tournament of Champions, look, that's invitation only, and you have to beat, 50 guys or whatever it is. But he did that in a clinic. The scores he shot around there were just eye-popping. And so, yeah, if you had to pull this one off and then win the FedEx Cup, I think Cam Smith is your Player of the Year. I do.
All right, might be our late runner. We've been trying to come up with scenarios for months on how Scottie Scheffler doesn't win it. We'll see. There's a lot that has to happen before we have more of those conversations. There's a lot of guys lurking. This leaderboard is incredible. We're going to talk through that. We're going to talk about Tiger Woods. We're going to look ahead to the weekend. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. 13 under par for Cam Smith. Cam Young, 11 under par. 2 shots back. It was a Friday 69, 2 bogeys on the card, but as expected, Mark, I mean, Cam Young's, I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't know if he's going to win the Open Championship, but his skill set, his demeanor, what he's already proven on a bunch of different golf courses this year, incredibly talented. I don't know if he's going to win. I don't expect him to eject out of this championship.
No, I have 2 observations, and I traded texts with his dad. David and coach, his dad is also his coach, David, after the first round. And look, they're just all very excited. And dad has trained his son well. And it's not to swing the club well, it's to be a good professional golfer or just a good golfer all around. And I've got a couple of observations. Final round of the PGA in Tulsa earlier this year, I had Zalatoris and him. They were playing together in the penultimate group. And Cam sort of got off to a bit of a nervy start. He wasn't hitting it that flush, missed a few balls, was kind of spraying it a little bit. And he was over. And then all of a sudden, there on the par 5, I think it was number 5, hits this drive down there and he doesn't carry a 3-wood. He carries only a 4-wood. And he hit this thing like on the button off a downsloping lie into the heart of the green. And I was like, whoa, all right, this is real. And then he sort of kind of stumbled a little bit. And then the next thing I turn around and the guy's got the lead standing in the middle of the 16th fairway again. And then he fans it off into the right bunker, makes a silly double. And all of a sudden he ends just 1 back. So he's got this skill where no matter what's going on, he's just always there. And he keeps himself in it. And I feel like a large part of what he does is, look, he hits it a long way. That's helpful. He's got tremendous touch. He's got wonderful hands around the greens. But the thing about him is that I would contend that I don't think there's any
Did we lose Mark?
Okay, I didn't know if that was me or him. There he is. Mark, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. You got me for
We lost you there. We got you now.
This connection here. Anyway, so I was saying to him, I don't know where you guys were cut out, but when I watched him play and how I just watch him, what he does, he shows 0 emotion whatsoever. The guy's heart rate looks like it must be beating at about 40 beats a minute. And he never shows any sort of emotion if a shot goes bad. The final round before the PGA, Rick, we've got a lot of time, right, before the broadcast in the afternoon. So I go to the range because they've got me on stick on Will Zalatoris duty, for updates from the range, because Will's obviously the television guy. Zalatoris showed up there like an hour and a half before his tee time. Cameron Young showed up on the practice range about 45 minutes before his tee time. He hit a few wedges, hit a few 8-irons, hit a few like longer irons, hit a few drivers, went over and hit a few putts, and that was him. I'm like, this is the biggest round of your young life right now. I would have been out there grinding. Not him. Hit a few balls. He's so chilled out and nothing phases him. And I feel like that is why he is sort of a man for the big moment right now, because even though there's all this brouhaha going on around him, he keeps it on the down low. And it's fascinating to watch him operate.
Yeah, it can be hard to find a pulse on him at some points. Cam Young making his 6th major start. He's made the cut for the 2nd time. Obviously, that PGA Championship earlier this year was the other. Justin Ray lets us know that 11 under par, that's the lowest 36-hole score to par by a player in his Open Championship debut. There you go. Cam Young, obviously getting out there and getting off to a hot start.
And I must do this. And he's doing that around a place that is notoriously hard to figure out, because a lot of the links courses like Muirfield, for argument's sake, travels around in like you got outside and inside. And then Troon goes out and in, and then Royal St. George is just all over the place, and Hoylake is kind of the same thing in Birkdale. So, you could sort of figure out trends around there, but where the old course sits, you can get wind from all different directions. And whereas a lot of the courses like St. George's, for argument's sake, has got huge mounds on either sides of the fairways, and those block some of the wind, this place is wide open. And when the wind gets to blowing, anything. So figuring this place out is just so difficult. And this is his first go, and he's broken a record doing it.
I'm glad you mentioned knowledge and experience, because it is not lost on me that earlier this week, Cam Young got a new caddy. So he used to have his college buddy from Wake Forest on the bag, switched it out with Chad Reynolds, who's looped for VJ and Nick Watney and Keegan Bradley and has done major championships before. And I wonder if that's helping around the old course this week.
Well, Chad has also worked for Cam Champ. And so he's navigated a guy with a lot of power around the place. And as I watched Cam Champ play when Chad was on the bag, you could see that he was trying to sort of just manage the game a bit more. And I have no doubt is Chad's influence because of who he's worked for. And a lot of caddies have had these influences. I mean, Jimmy Johnson had the same thing on a young Justin Thomas, because Jimmy had worked for Nick Price, Hall of Famer, Steve Stricker, likely going in the Hall of Fame, and then he picks up this young stud in JT. So, yeah, I feel like that's a really sound addition, and it'll stand him in good stead, if not this weekend, certainly down the track.
That penultimate group at 10 under par will be Rory McIlroy and Viktor Hovland. Let's start with Rory. It was a 4 under 68 for Rory. And Mark, this was a small hurdle leaped, in my opinion. There's been a lot of struggle for Rory to get out of the gate well at major championships. And if he happens to play well on Thursday, sometimes he kind of gives it back and loses ground on Friday. But to be this much in the mix, he was very pleased with the state of his game when he was asked about it after his Friday round. I mean, Rory is lurking.
He is. And two things. I find it still somewhat curious that a lot of us are like, well, we're waiting for Rory to fold this thing up. I mean, this guy is going to waltz into the Hall of Fame when he becomes eligible. Okay, so let's preface the conversation with that. But I know earlier this year, I'm not blowing my own trumpet or anything, but I said to you guys, I'm watching Rory and I'm seeing it turn. And when you and I were in Vegas in the fall, just the way he was approaching the game was different. And I saw where the swing was going, but it looks to me, and it looked even then, that he was adopting this more managerial tack, almost like playing like a Tiger Woods would, all right? Where Rory was always more like Phil Mickelson in a way. There was no shot he was not going to try and take on. And when it worked, he was going to dust fields by 10. And the way this course is played in the first two rounds, even though the scoring is low, you've had to sort of just hit the right shot at times. And there was a shot he hit in round one that was telling. I mean, after he's absolutely laced one down 17 there, and he could throw the thing onto the green, underhanded onto the green, he hits a gap wedge just to the right side of the target because the lie was so tight and bad. He was afraid that if he tried to hoist this thing, he'd skin it over the back. Now, old Rory would have went after the latter. New Rory's like, all right, I'm going to ruin my chances here over the long haul if I try and hit the shot that I'm seeing. Rory 2.0 is like, okay, this thing is a 72-hole event. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm likely to be in contention over the last few holes. So I'm not going to ruin it right now with a rash decision. And I'm seeing that, and I saw more of it today because, going out, he didn't get after the golf course like people typically do, but he just hung around, hit the ball in the right place, had that 3-putt on 8, which was sort of harsh. And then turns the loop there, makes 3 in a row, and that birdie on 17 was a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's remiss that the 3-putt on 15, I think it was, and not birdieing 18. But that's what 18 is. I found it curious that you watch the broadcast and they're like, oh, 18 is the easiest hole on the course. You're going to make 4 birdies around there. I'm like, yeah, you should. But just one crooked bounce on one of those humps and some of those hole locations right over the Valley of Sin, you're not putting straight up the hill. You sort of angle across that thing. And so judgment of speed is so hard. And you could be in the wrong place by just a few inches and have no chance. So I thought today was just Rory doing what Rory's been doing. And he was rewarded with a good day, and he's rewarded with a shot over the weekend. And I fancy that he will continue to do what he's been doing, because he's realized now that, hold on, this stuff is sort of working for me.
Well, Rory might have found the magic number. 10 under par is where he sits through 36 holes. The last 2 times that he's been at 10 under or better through 2 rounds of a major, 2014 Open Championship, Mark won that one. Mm-hmm. And the 2011 US Open, Mark also won that one. Might be headed towards another Rory victory.
And the Open he won at Hoylake, the golf course was playing the same sort of way as what it is now. There was a little green about it, so you'd get the odd bounce where the ball would sort of dig in and not release. Then you'd hit one where the ball was like a racetrack and just run 100 yards. And he held off a hard charging Garcia around a pretty difficult place in Royal Liverpool. So, there's a lot of golf left. But if he just keeps doing what he's doing, and his comments after the round today, that was indicative thereof. He's like, yeah, I'm happy with today. I've just got to keep being patient. And he made a comment too that I tweeted about. I was just looking through some of the transcripts quickly, and he spoke about how his mind is quiet. And if you can have a quiet mind in the midst of any major championship, I mean, just even a PGA Tour event, but at a major championship, then you move this thing to the old course, the 150th, the Open Championship, which for all internationals is probably the tip of the pie, the tip of the peak. If he's saying he's got a quiet mind, I'm like, man, I want whatever you're having, because that is, you don't get to that place very often.
Well, Rory will be alongside another international on Saturday. That international is Viktor Hovland, who shot a 6 under 66, highlighted Mark by holing out for eagle on 15, which was one of those ridiculously tucked pins that no one should be able to get to. He said, I'll just hole it out from here. No big deal. And now we've got Viktor kind of really in the heat of a battle of a major championship on the weekend for the first time.
What impressed me was the par save he made on 17. Mm-hmm. Look, he played beautifully both rounds. And today was really sound, and he did everything right, and he looks like he is a veteran. But that par save on 17 was man-sized. And that was just perfectly set up for him to birdie 18 and to go into the weekend going, yeah, I'm here. Because a lot of the players I've been around that have contended in majors, and the golfers I've worked with, that have won big events and a couple majors, they all know that they're capable of winning major championships. Some of them sort of believe it. Others believe that they can win major championships, so that when they get into the situation, it's not like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? It's like they've prepared themselves emotionally and mentally for this environment, because it's just different. You can't practice this on any range. And that save he made on 17, because look, that grandstand behind the right side of the green, it stretches into the heavens. You've got the Old Course Hotel to your right. You got the Jigger Inn right there. If you glance to the left, it's the most iconic view, arguably, in all of golf. And you drill a par putt there of about 8-10 feet, that shows some stuff. And when he did that, I'm like, okay, this boy's for real. We always knew he was, because he had the gifts, the skills, the way he hits it and stuff. But that was a big save, and that was super impressive to me.
Yeah, very tactical around the old course. He is he's one of the subscribers to that Eduardo Molinari course management system, similar to, I guess, Decade. So mm-hmm. he's with the Eduardo crew. And when you look at the old course on paper, Mark, Viktor's strengths, the ball striking, you wonder with the wide fairways and lack of rough, how much that lends itself to him. But it's such a strategic course. There's so many options. There's so many different ways to come in that's half the battle.
Yeah, well, I'll add to that too, because look, the old course is strange because the fairways are wide and the greens are huge. But you and I, look, I'm going to speak this into existence. Rick Gehman and I are going to go to the old course and play a round of golf together. Let's
do it. Done.
Yeah, okay. Boys trip. Fans can come to. I could go and put you in the fairway at spots over there that you couldn't keep it on the green, even though you've hit the fairway. And I'd put you in spots on the green where you would never, not just a long ways from the hole, but you'd never, ever two-putt. So that's the challenge of the place. And then when you get it like we have it right now, where it's so firm that it really places a premium on how you present the leading edge of the club to the ground. Because if you're not landing that thing in absolutely the right place with any iron, except especially the wedges, you're going to really suffer. You might have a ball that lands on the green, but it's going to release out. And the next thing you've got 50 feet instead of 25 or whatever the case might be. So that's where it's playing into Viktor's hands, because he compresses the ball and just presents the face so square through impact. McIlroy, the same sort of deal. And so that's why you're seeing some of these guys, Dustin Johnson, who just hit the thing right in the middle of the bat every single time. When you've got firm conditions and the club's got to interact properly through the ground, that's where these folks will typically thrive.
Speaking of Dustin Johnson, Mark, it was a Friday 67, which is 5 under to get DJ to 9 under par for the championship, currently sitting solo 5th. He is the Live Golf headliner. He is their best bet to go and spoil this thing for the PGA Tour. But DJ looked in control. He bogeyed the first hole, a little sloppy there out of the gate, but was awesome after that.
At a golf course where when you walk around there and you go into the Tom Morris Pro Shop, and I've never been in the RNA Clubhouse, but you go to Rissack's and you go to the Jigger Inn and you go to Mob Bell's down the way, it's like you feel the history of the place. And you can imagine old Tom Morris sitting on the white banister there on the right side of the 18th with a pipe in his mouth, watching you play golf. There is the spiritual atmosphere about the golf course there. Now, I say that to say that DJ has got some history over there. And he played beautifully in rounds 1 or 2, but he's got to get by round 3 tomorrow at this very old course. Because in 2015, he put on a show for the first 2 rounds. In fact, Jordan Spieth, who played alongside him, said, I can't hang with this guy right now. He is just playing too well. Then almost overnight, DJ comes out there and was playing like Austin Johnson, who's pretty good, incidentally. And he shoots 150 over the weekend and blows the thing. So, yeah, look, he's looking all the part right now. He has to get by the ghosts of round 3, 2015. And if he does, look, all bets are off. We know he can win major events, so we'll see then. And then the one other comment I would make is that I've been so impressed with the way he's holding out. You know, because he's always good for 1 4 or 5 6 foot miss. And everything he's made has been with perfect speed, right into the heart. And the stroke looks sort of even and smooth. So you mix that with some ball striking skill like he does, and you've got a recipe for some success.
A recipe for success, a recipe that Tiger Woods has completed 15 times in major championships. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about some disappointments and other guys who missed the cut, and we'll look at the odds board. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Mark, it's Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods will not be around for the weekends at the old course. Let's start with his play on the golf course. A Friday 75, 3 over par to go with his Thursday 6 over par. That's 9 over. Never threatened the cut. How would you assess the golf that you watched from Tiger Woods over the first 2 days of this Open Championship?
There's a term that us golf announcers sort of throw around lazily. And when a person doesn't play well and they've had a break, we go like, he's rusty or she's rusty. But honestly, I think Tiger was kind of the picture, the embodiment of a little rustiness. The practice looked great. Everyone was saying, oh, Tiger's flushing, all this sort of stuff. But then the tournament comes around and you're on the first tee at the old course and you're playing the Open Championship there. It's different. And so you could see on the first round, the golf swing was a little out of time. Now, did he get very unfortunate on the first hole in round 1? Yeah, absolutely. But that iron he struck off the tee wasn't very flush at all. I mean, he'd normally hit that thing farther than where that area of divots was. But that's beside the point. So physically, and then today, he said, I got to come out and shoot 66 or whatever the case might be. And every swing he made, even with the wedges, just looked a touch late. It was just like, if it was a symphony, it's just one individual playing at a time. So it sounds like a mess, even though it looks good from the outside. And that's all it was. And I feel like that is very much a result of just lack of tournament playing and time. because look, his mind is unlike any other. You know, we all know he can get up for it. He's proved to us that very point at Augusta National earlier this year, and then at the at Southern Hills as well. So it just didn't look to me like the golf swing is completely there. And of course, I've said it, I'll say it again: you cannot out-hit or even outwit a putter that doesn't behave.
Yeah.
Especially from like inside 10 feet. And Tiger, when he was in his prime, you remember, Tiger would have 10 feet on the 16th hole on Sunday. I'd bet my mortgage that it was going right in the heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now he's over the stuff, and you're like, ooh, shucks. And every putt that he hit was sort of limping at the hole. It wasn't rolling at the hole with some conviction. Everything was lowish. Everything was sort of low on energy. Not under red, but just under hit. So that again speaks of just lack of tournament time to me.
Yeah, didn't have the speed, couldn't find it all week long. Mark, he walked up 18 fairway, he crossed Swoken Bridge, did not pause, did not stop. Listen, you know,
You cried. I cried.
I cried everything.
Me too.
Here's Tiger's tweet. He gets an unbelievable ovation to the point where he's tearing up. He's losing control a little bit. The tweet from Tiger, if you're watching on YouTube, Jacob has it up, says, quote, "Although I'm disappointed to be heading home, I had an incredible week at St. Andrews celebrating 150 years of history and the game we love. I want to thank this place for all the memories it has given me, and to the fans today for having the walk up 18 be added to that list." End quote. Mark, he made it very clear in his post-round comments. He believes he's going to continue to play more Open Championships. He does not necessarily believe he's going to now have an opportunity to play the old course while as competitive as he would probably like.
Yeah, it's sort of sad, isn't it? But I feel like it was a conundrum for him to walk over that beautiful little bridge, because somewhere in the back of his mind, I guess, he would be like, I should stop here and pose for pictures if I don't think I'm ever going to play here again.
Right.
But then if I do that, then everyone's thinking, well, I'm done.
Right.
And look, the wood's mind is willing. It's just that the body is not that able right now. So that special walk over there was, I think he dealt with it as like a pro, like he does with everything else. And I was just, not to make this about me, but I was there in 2005 when Jack retired. And he stood on the bridge and had the pictures and then birdied the last. And the place just went bananas for like 10 minutes. Standing ovations everywhere. I'll never forget on the side of the green, I was right there. And Tom Watson is clapping hands for Jack Nicklaus, who is like just kind of appreciating the crowd, and tears are everywhere and the place is unbelievable. And Woods is right in behind him and he won the event. And I'm glad that Tiger took the time that he did to appreciate this. And I'm even more glad then that Max Homa and Matt Fitzpatrick just kind of dropped out of the way and let one of the greatest of all time, have his moment there at the home of golf. And we all knew it was special. He knew it was special. The fact that he was emotional like he was, I've never seen Tiger cry on the golf course like ever. Maybe after the round, like at 19 at the Masters. So it was special and it was moving and it was the perfect place for it. And he dealt with it great. And look, let's just let him now rest, and let's see where he shows up again. But I feel like this event was sort of telling in a way, because it's going to be the easiest walk of all the places he's likely to play.
Right.
And he still looked like he was struggling. So who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, the boys read the room. Max and Matt hung back, let Tiger take the walk. Rory and JT and everybody who were coming off of number one tee at the time gave him a little hat tip. Everybody read the room. Very nice moment that I'm sure we will see played quite a bit moving forward. We're going to see that one. We're going to see those images a lot. Tiger's not the only one who will not be making the cut, Mark. I mean, take your pick here. A couple of notables. Colin Morikawa will not be around on the weekend to defend his title. Max Homa, who played with Tiger, has had an unbelievable year. That group on Thursday, there was no juice. Matt Fitzpatrick kind of broke out of that group on Friday. Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka also will not be around. It's the first time Brooks will not have a top 10 in a major in, I think it's 8 years now. So some other guys who will not be around on a weekend that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, as it pertains to Max Homa, I'm sort of prepared to give him a pass, because he was a guy that a lot of folks had their eyes on, because he's just becoming that sort of a player. Very reliable golf swing, sort of easy mind, putts nicely. but he got to live his dream here for 2
Yeah.
rounds of golf alongside his hero at the home of golf. Now, that is the ultimate argument for everyone who sits, and this is not directed at you, Rick. Everyone who just gazes at data all day long is like, well, he's not hitting his irons right. Because there's so many things that have an influence on how the golfer at the highest level performs. And so for Max, it was that speaks to the mindset of Matt Fitzpatrick, that he could sort of play past all the brouhaha. But I'm finding Brooks Koepka just absolutely fascinating right now. Here's a guy who was infallible just a few seasons ago. Here's a guy who spoke down to just nearly all and sundry in the game. And now it looks like doesn't look like he's a shell of himself. And for any aspirant golfer listening to this, there's a lesson to be learned that you got to be careful when you're on top of the world, because the world spins. And, a great analogy I got from a wise old man one day. He was like, I grew up at the coast. And he said, golf is like surfing. He goes, you work hard and you paddle hard to get out beyond the waves. Then you get on the wave and you have exhilaration for 5-10 seconds. Then you fall over and you do it all again. He said, that's what tournament golf is. So when you're on the wave, be careful what you say. He goes, just be professional about your craft. And so I'm finding Brooks sort of curious right now, and I hope for his sake he gets by it. But his actions with where he's gone to go and play tell me otherwise. So it's just strange.
73-75 for Brooks, and he will not be around this weekend. Our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook, Mark, have installed Cam Smith, who is currently 2 shots clear, of everyone else as the favorite at plus 185. Rory McIlroy, who currently sits 3 shots back, plus 330. Viktor Hovland also there, 3 shots back, 8-1, the same odds as Cameron Young at 8-1. So we can get further down the board, but these are the guys that Caesars has honed in on to end up hoisting the claret jug in 2 evenings.
Well, if you picked up Rory or Cameron or these guys at the start of the week, you're smiling broadly right now. What's that statistic that I saw yesterday where apparently all of the Open champions at the old course, the winner has come out of the top 3 guys on Thursday?
It's been, I don't think it was the top 3. I think it was you have to be at the leader within 3 shots.
Okay.
And that would have been Young, Rory,
Cam Smith.
And Cam Smith. Right. Yeah. Same.
Well, look, I've talked at length about how just mysterious and mystical and spiritual St. Andrews the town is. And then, of course, this old course. So I'm prepared to stick with the trend. Cameron Smith, like I said, he just looks like he believes. And Cameron Young looks like he doesn't give a stuff. Now we'll see what happens Sunday afternoon if he's around. And Rory is playing the game differently. His golf swing is on point, but he's playing the game differently. His mindset, his decision-making, I don't want to say it's his time, because you never know in this crazy game. He could play his best and get outwit and outbeaten and beaten. But it's fascinating to see, and I'm not going to make a call until 72nd hole, hopefully tomorrow, Sunday afternoon.
If Kyle Porter were here and I asked him what the real lead was, I think he'd have to tell me it's Cam Smith at 13 under par. I don't think he could. I don't think he could go any lower than that from our Tournament of Champions winner and our Players Champ. So, Mark, how far back? Because Scotty Scheffler, who's had an unbelievable year, is only 5 shots back. Patrick Cantlay's 6. Matt Fitzpatrick's 7. I mean, how could one of these guys end up making a move up the leaderboard and threatening this thing?
Yeah, of course they could. We've seen low rounds out there. We saw 64 on Thursday, and we saw 64 today, right? Those the 2 low days?
That sounds right. Yes.
And I'm expecting the golf course will sort of stay the same. They're going to hide and tuck these hole locations. But with the way the wind direction will play, you'll be able to drive it on 9. You'll be able to drive it close to, so 9, definitely 12. Then you've got the 2 par 5s that are both reachable, the one with an iron. and then you can get a few short wedges in there early. So I don't want to be Bryson and give you a par number, but par is essentially for me sort of 69, 68-ish. So if Cameron Smith goes and shoots 269s, that gets him to 19, right? So I would think it's kind of an arms race right now for 20 under par. So whatever those guys are, Scheffler, if he gets himself to 20, which he's highly capable of doing the way he's playing, look, it's on. So that's what makes this contest so fascinating right now, because we're not going to have the kind of conditions where the wind is going to blow some of the competition away. This is just going to be all about heart, skill, management of self in the moment, all of those sorts of things that you spend time practicing day in and day out, and you dream about the sort of stuff as a player and a coach. And now you got the chance at the home of golf to lift that little jug. It's this big.
It's not that big, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like you could get on the wrong side of like rainy weather or something. And we're all finishing on the 18th. It's not a shotgun start, so I mean this is perfect. It's setting up for someone earning one of the most coveted, if not the most coveted, prizes in the game.
Moving day coming up Saturday at the Old Course. Cannot wait. We'll be back after round 3 and of course after round 4 to break it all down. I
got to stall you because I think you are skirting right now, Mr. Host. Can we get a one and done league update?
All I hear is there's a lot of golf to be played. Anybody can come from as far back as they need to, yet we need to do a one and done update at the halfway point. Okay.
You know why? You know why? And I'll likely have to put my foot in my mouth. But I got so much heat for my Tyrrell Hatton pick. Ha! Drop my mic.
Yes, Jacob. Did Jacob jump in there?
Yeah, I got you covered right here. False alarm.
That's so good. Should have just dropped the ending on him. That's so good. I was all in for that. You should have just cut it. That was good. All right, here we go. Jacob and I are out. Max Homa. No. Sia has Scotty Scheffler, but Sia needs about $9 million the rest of the way. Kyle has Dustin Johnson, probably too far back to matter. Greg has Jordan Spieth, who's lurking T24 or so. Coach has Ryan Fox. Fox missed the cut, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
I think
he did. He did. And okay. Homa beat him by one shot, which Coach and I had a showdown on.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Jacob, put yourself in the so I can see you while you're saying this.
He wants to look into your eyes so that he can see into your face. The fans, which Kyle laughed and said, Patrick Cantlay, you guys are all idiots and morons and so stupid. Patrick Cantlay's T8. That's for the fans.
But again, to what we spoke about, the way his mind works and the way he sort of dissects a course is almost one of the perfect candidates for this place. You know, he's just Patrick.
And then Mark, you are currently in the lead, and also your golfer Tyrrell Hatton is T6 for the week.
And I cannot. I laughed because I got to see him a little bit today when I was watching, and that bastard. I mean, he hit some shots, and he just looks so aggravated at the stuff. And then he makes a birdie. he's thoroughly entertaining.
He played so well, and then his post-round comments, like he was just acting like he was upset. We're like, Tyrrell, you know you had a great day. It's okay. You can say it. It's fine. You don't need to be upset at everything.
He's won twice around there, but both of those events that they take place in I think it's late October, early November, so it doesn't play anything like this.
I like how Mark and I are talking, by the way. We just got to point this out with the blue rope hats and then a red shirt as well.
Yeah. I didn't get the memo on the uniform for tonight.
Yeah.
Looks good, gents. I can't pull off the rope hat. I think it looks weird on my head. I like them, though.
Well, this one's too big for me, too, because I've got a big head anyway. But
I'll have to work on that. Looks good on you guys. All right. Now we're done. We're getting out of here now. Producer Jacob does all the hard work behind the scenes. Mark Immelman, you can find him not only leading our one and done, but also on Twitter at Mark_Immelman. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. Catch you next time.